Good morning, everybody. What's going on, gentlemen?
Good morning.
I can hear you fine, but son, we got to get you some lights. So I don't know about y'all, but out here it is a winter wonderland in Georgia.
It is pretty wintry where I am at. I'm with the brushfire mind this morning because I can't get out of my driveway and probably won't be able to get out of my driveway for at least another couple of hours. So it's like,
I got a call from my chiropractor yesterday to reschedule me for this afternoon. They're going to get a call from me right after the show. Yeah, let's do this later.
Cammy Cam's got a snow day from school. Yay!
Look, and let's be clear, Cammy Cam doesn't call out of work. Like that doesn't happen. I figured literally being physically unable to get there, that has to qualify as an excused absence.
Well, and I mean, let's be real. We're getting old. You know, we have to think about things a different way. There was a time where nearly cutting my thumb off and having to duct tape it back on did not stop me from making pizzas for the rest of the week, or even the rest of that afternoon. There was a time when having to duct tape my left heel back onto my foot did not stop me from finishing a 10-mile ruck march in basic combat training. Today, it's kind of cold outside. I think I'm gonna stay in by the fire.
It's like 40 something degrees here. It's cold.
Jesus.
For Florida, but it's not.
It is half that here.
Yeah, it's.
I know.
I think our high. Let me see. I think our high today is like 33.
Floridians are
37.
Floridians are like,
our high today is 37.
Yeah, it's currently 16 at my location. Yeah.
Floridians are like Hawaiians, where if it goes below 60 degrees, they start panicking. Okay, so it's just a different mental mindset here. I'm immune to it because I'm originally from the north, but whatever. I am servant of the emperor today. Why? Because we have a day one dictator, boys. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. And you know what? I'm so God. You know, he got so much flack for that comment, and they kept repeating it. He's going to be a dictator on day one. Like, the left likes to pretend like they don't understand hyperbole and comedy.
Yeah.
When it's convenient for a statement to be taken literally, they like to pretend like they don't understand what comedy is or what hyperbole is. But when you look at what Donald Trump has done with these executive orders, this is more executive. To be clear, this is more executive orders than have ever been signed on the first day of a presidential administration. Fair play. But turns out that when he said he was going to be a dictator on day one, just for day one, it looks a hell of a lot like how Obama and Biden ran their entire administration.
Precisely. So we're fighting the enemy by the enemy's rules, and I like that. We've needed that for a long time. Otherwise, it's the way of Romney and the way of acquiescence to the liberal order, and conservatism is nothing but holding the last post that the left advanced on. So I appreciate this. I know Cam wanted. I know you want to talk about the Romans, throwing Romans. Okay, I wanted to start with that, just get that out of the way. So
okay.
Segue into that, Cameron.
I didn't have anything pulled up for that, but here we go. Oh no, I've got something now.
Okay, so first I just wanted to say the amazing thing about the left and Donald Trump is whenever they should take him seriously, but not literally, they choose to take him literally. And whenever they should take him literally, but not seriously, they choose to take him seriously. It's this weird, like the whole thing with, I'll be a dictator for a day. That is so obviously a joke, and maybe a joke that a guy running for president shouldn't make. Fair enough. You want to have that discussion. But to pretend like it's not a joke, like, come on, get the fuck out of here. He's obviously joking, but you guys are going to take him literally, but not seriously. Because if you literally thought he was going to be a dictator on day one, you wouldn't peacefully transfer power to him. Like, if he's...
In all fairness, he didn't.
Well, Joe Biden did, and Kamala got smashed and bitter-faced her way through the whole thing. Golly, man, the levels of Schadenfreude there, watching her the last few days, just
they gave up. They knew that fighting against a transfer of power with Trump would probably result in the end of the Democratic Party. So they took a bitter defeat to fight another day.
Yeah, it was a football analogy. It was 4th and 17, so they really had no choice but to punt it away and hope they could get the ball back before the half is over. Like, that's...
Oh, no, it's like the 2-minute warning. It's
Well, so peaceful transfer of power, you say. Officials stop release of J6 inmates following Trump pardon.
Oh, I didn't mean to drag us that far off. I'm sorry. I thought
Washington, D.C. police pushed back the supporters of January 6 detainees after it became clear that not all prisoners would be immediately released following President Donald Trump's pardon. So the president issued a pardon, and D.C. police refused to release some of these hostages.
That's correct, and I understand it to a degree, but it's a very temporary thing. Okay, I know it's a prison. It's a federal institution. There is going to be some sort of out processing. Okay, that has to occur. It's not like we're just going to throw the gates open and then let them run out into the streets. Okay, like French Revolution style. That said, I would be okay with that, but they're going to out process them. It is simply the government way to do things slowly. So as long as they're out by the end of this week, I don't think that's a major issue.
So I'm going to push back on you a little bit there. You're not wrong. This is how the government does things, but that is the problem. That is actually the problem, because the process is the punishment. We hit it a couple times yesterday. You might beat the charges, but you won't beat the ride. The process is the punishment, right? Yeah. So a lot of people have been convicted and ruined over contempt of cop. And they did nothing wrong, except that the police officer didn't feel that they were adequately respectful. So they arrest them on some bullshit. The charges get dropped. Okay. They get cut loose, but they spend a night or two in jail, and they come back to, oh, well, you didn't call into work yesterday morning, so you're fired.
No call, no show.
Hold up. What? There's got to be some recourse. Nope. You can. The process is the punishment.
Yep. So, oh God, no, Cameron, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Go move on with the Roman salute. Do it. You can do it. Okay.
Okay, I got you.
Damn it, Mario.
This is the conversation.
Yes. Yeah, and I even dropped a couple of things in our group thread that I found humorous and pertinent. If you want to jump on them, but I wanted to briefly mention this because obviously Elon Musk is not doing a Nazi salute at a presidential inauguration. Like, seriously, guys, even if Elon Musk was secretly a Nazi, it'd be really hard to keep it a secret if he's doing like the Heil Hitler in front of the nation on a day when basically everybody's watching the news all day long. Like, he would have to be blisteringly stupid to do this. And
well, let's just take a moment to acknowledge, these are the people that are criticizing him over the quote Nazi salute.
Yes. Yeah. If you wave with one hand to a crowd, you're going to look like you're doing the Nazi salute, especially in selectively edited pictures and video. And I've been seeing this get done for decades. Rush Limbaugh occasionally would make sarcastic comments about, I love Stone Toss. Rush Limbaugh would even occasionally make comments telling people, hey, Republicans, would you run for office? Don't wave to the crowd with just one arm. Don't do it. Like, you will end up. Hey, look. I'd rather be called Nixon than Nazi, though.
Yeah.
And so here we.
Not that they didn't call Nixon a Nazi.
Look, now I understand, but those are two different N words. Haha. Anyhow,
clever boy.
Yeah. That I have my moments. They're fleeting.
Speaking of N words, good old Elon is in fact the richest African American.
Yes. Yes. So, but I wanted to bring this up and talk about it specifically, A, because it's bothered me for a really long time. It's such a cheap ploy.
Yeah.
B, I don't, generally speaking, if you have to ask me about a mode of operation, I'm going to say, well, anytime you fight lies with truth, you're probably doing the right thing. And third, and Mario's going to probably give me some pushback here. Spoiler alert. Even though he and I at least somewhat agree on this, the Trump derangement syndrome, the oh my God, Trump is Cheeto Hitler and wants to be a dictator on day one, and has been an adjudicated rapist, and all of the other terrible things about Donald Trump that all revolve around the fact that the right is fascists and Nazis and all that other bullshit is actually part of what cost the left the previous election. It wasn't just that Joe Biden had the brain consistency of an over-easy egg and Kamala was an absolutely terrible candidate. It was that the media had constructed such a house of lies and bullshit and stuff like that. We're like, oh man, all these people are racist. Like, they totally weren't racist before they supported Donald Trump, but now they're racist. Oh, all these people are Nazis. They totally weren't Nazis before they supported Donald Trump, but now they're Nazis. And so I actually think we keep our boot on their throat by continuing to point it out, by continuing to say, you guys are still doing the same fucking thing. You're still calling people like me, Cameron Anderson, a Nazi, which couldn't be further from the truth. I'm very much libertarian in so many of my views. It's diametrically opposed to anything authoritarian. But you're just going to keep calling me Nazi. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, guys.
Well, and let me throw this one in there. One of the ones that's being super critical and very vocally critical of the gesture on X right now is AOC, of course, right? Who is a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. She's a communist, like Bernie Sanders. And I think it's important to remind everybody that we have this thing, the 1968 Civil Rights Act, which is very clear about equal treatment under the law, et cetera, and very clearly and explicitly says that none of these legal protections extend to communists because they aren't people.
Right. I wanted to.
Did you know the ADL actually has the 80 fucking L has come out and said, "Come on, guys, this is not a Nazi salute."
Yeah, when the ADL says you're getting too lefty. You're lefty's too crazy. Then you've gone way too far.
No. They're saying, hey guys, look, at a time where we have record low credibility, we really can't be wasting political capital on this pulp. Okay, like calling a Republican or a conservative or whatever a Nazi is probably the oldest and cheapest trope. Okay, in the book, right? They do
everything I hate is Nazi.
Every single exactly. Everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi. Children's book for internet discussion, correct? So, yeah, they call everybody a freaking Nazi. Right? Now,
yes, it's the Hitler defense.
But the people are wise to it at this point. Okay, what we've seen from 2015 to 2025 is the decade of total dissolution of the mainstream media. All right, and it was well deserved, and it is ongoing. The more they do this stuff, all right, the more it just discredits them in the eyes of the public. So, I really don't care if they do when they do stuff like this. It just shows the public even more what they really are. What I think is, honestly, the intangibles, the ephemeral, greatest hits of Donald Trump, or his greatest achievement, was that for the past 10 years, he has truly shown the American public just how deceptive, fake, and gay the mainstream media is. Okay, and that is a lesson. That is a lesson that transcends politics. Okay, and that can't go back. That will never go back. That'll never go back in the on the shelf. Okay, that is a permanent addition to American social life at this point. And it's not just new technology, the internet, which has destroyed the mainstream media. They shot themselves in the foot repeatedly playing Russian roulette for 10 years, all right, to the point where they can no longer walk. And
if you'll recall, at the beginning,
if they want to burn themselves even further, by all means, let them. Just ignore them.
Right. Dude, never interrupt the enemy. This is the pro-choice argument that I've always made about why we don't need a national abortion ban. You know, don't interrupt the enemy when he's making a mistake. Let him do it. And I know that sounds awful because I despise the idea of killing babies, but it's what they do, and frankly it's probably the only thing that's kept them from completely overtaking the world at this point. You know, if the Zerg are going to Zerg rush off one cliff, well, maybe you don't build extra defenses there. But to the point you made about everything being fake and gay, if you remember, toward, you know, what was it, about the second year of Trump's first term, the argument about trans in the military was a big deal, whether or not we should even have transgender people in the military. And I've maintained this the whole time, that I've got a list of reasons, but no, right? So Mario, you were in Iraq when and I was in Afghanistan when they overturned Don't Ask, Don't Tell, right?
He sounds fine to me, Cam.
You were deployed. You were deployed when they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, right?
Yes, I was. They actually called us into a conference room to discuss.
Exactly.
Okay? And this was in 2011. And pretty much like most of us were in the room and we're like, really? They like I got product reports I got to have done by set time. I
got to turn in my paperwork by 1600.
No.
How do we do it here?
Okay, Cameron. One of the basic things, one of the most common in military intelligence. Okay, it's like I got to finish the slides.
Yeah. Been there.
So yeah, I got to finish the slides to brief the commander at the end of the day, right? So we're getting called off work to do this, and we're just like, man, we got to be in here for this bullshit. Okay, like we already had some gay people in the unit. Everybody knew they were fucking gay, and nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Right? Nobody cared. But
right. You remember that sailor? You remember that sailor Vizay? Vizay. He was a great guy, and nobody ever wondered. Nobody was ever unclear, and nobody cared.
Was that the gay red? Was that the gay redhead mulatto?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, everybody knew he was.
Yeah, exactly. But and just like you were talking about,
everyone knew that brother was zesty.
Yeah, and like Mario and I have talked about this. My deployment was a little more kinetic than Mario's. I was actually out in fucking sector doing some team shit, and they called us back in. They called us back in from the field to attend a briefing on what the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell was going to mean for us. And the most infuriating part about that is, think about everything that's probably infuriating about that situation, and then add to it that part of the briefing is, this is to prepare you for when you redeploy to garrison in 6 months.
Yeah.
So what the fuck does that have to do with right now? Is this putting bad guys in the dirt? No? Then get off my dick and let me go kill terrorists. That's what I'm here to do.
I want to bring this back to the main conversation. Okay, so let me just capstone this with Sergeant Major says the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell really made no difference. You're correct, but actually it did. It did make a big difference because it made homosexuality like a protected class, okay, within military administration, okay, and that is the type of stuff that Trump is signing away,
right,
one executive order at a time. So,
it also caused a huge problem with housing soldiers, because now all of a sudden you had all these extra concerns. You had a male barracks and a female barracks, or a male floor and a male and a female floor, and now you had to start asking now you had to start asking the homosexual soldiers if they were comfortable being in a room with a straight soldier. But if you were straight, with a religious concern or anything like that, you had no recourse, no right to refuse to live with a homosexual soldier. That wasn't an option for you. You were told, shut your mouth, you bigot.
Yeah.
You shut your mouth, you bigot. You're going to sit there and you're going to listen to his gay porn while he does what he does in the bottom bunk, and you're stuck with it because that's what Obama said. And I didn't mean to get too far off on that tangent. I brought that up to kind of stepstone us forward into the beginning of Trump's administration, which I got it, Cameron. I got it, but this is substantial and it's on point and to target. About the second year of Trump's administration, whether or not we would even have trans in the military was a big controversy. And I was having a conversation in a classroom. I was back in college at the time, having a conversation with one of my professors. And this was a professor that I liked, despite his being a dirty commie. He was a smart guy, and we had great conversations. And I asked the question in class when he was asking us about our position on the controversy. I said, look, at a minimum, I don't think we can reasonably let transgender people serve in the military until we can determine whether it is a mental disorder or a physical malformation, because it must be one or the other. It cannot be the case that it is neither. So it is either that you believe something that is not true, or you believe something that is true, and the thing you believe is that you are genetically malformed to conform with your brain chemistry. And frankly, I can even buy that on a case-by-case basis, it's one or the other, both are possible. But without that determination, I don't think we have any recourse to bring them in, because you cannot join the Army if you are not fit to serve. And if you require extensive medical intervention, then you are not fit to serve.
You're mentally ill. That's it. That's why you can't join. You're mentally ill.
Look, okay. Here's why I've been about to just fall out of my seat here. Because I understand you were trying to use this as a segue, but I was actually directly trying to respond to what you guys said about the media and the Roman salute. I agree that part of the reason why the media is in such deep shit is they shot themselves in the foot. They did this to themselves. Like,
oh yeah,
there's only so many times like you could catch your spouse cheating on you. They go, "Oh, I'm sorry, it'll never happen again," and then it happens again. Like before you go, I gave you like 17 chances here, right? And the media has put itself in that position. But I think ignoring it and allowing them to just continue without giving a counter narrative is a mistake. We must continue to point the thing out when the thing happens. We take for granted certain things. But that's not to say that people that come of age in the next 5 or 10 years will even have the same mimetic framework that we do in our brains. There are things that our parents know and understand intuitively that we simply do not. And I think just assuming because the media crippled itself, it will always appear to be crippled is a mistake. That's why I think it's so important to push back against any false narrative. That's. And I promise we could be done. I know you want to talk about executive orders. I just wanted to make the point.
And I wanted to use that whole line of conversation about the trans the military to get to one of the executive orders, because there are a couple of executive orders.
Are you drinking purple, Cam?
That's my coffee refill. This one's empty.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I saw your comment about the microphone, Cameron, and I just now switched them over, so I should be coming through better.
Yes, you sound much cleaner.
And Aaron Olson asks, what about obesity? Well, when you're fat in the Army, they send you to fatty squad, and you don't get no more fatty cakes. No more disgusting little fat pills for you, fat boy. It's broccoli time. But which was devastating for Mario.
100% effective weight loss plan. You guys ready? Eat less, exercise more. 100% effective. Might be more effective for some people than others, but every single time you eat less and exercise more, you lose weight.
And if you exercise more enough, you don't have to eat that much less. Mario, you remember when I was on the HFT diet?
HFT?
the heavy fucking thing. So I got 100 pounds in a rucksack, and Mario and I would walk down the hill to the gelato shop and get an ice cream, and then walk back up the hill. It was a 2 mile. It was a 2 mile walk, so it was a 4 mile round trip with 100 pounds on my back. And for those of you who don't know, Prescott Hill is shaped like this.
Yeah, it's
it was brutal and it was effective. But the trans issue with Trump, we fast forward into the Biden administration, and we've got the first female 4-star admiral. Shut up. And some of the executive orders, there's one that says the official position, the official policy of the United States government is that there are 2 genders, male and female. Right?
Yeah, how far out off base did we get? How crazy is the world where we literally had to have the government come in and go, guys, look, there's only 2 fucking genders. Pick one.
Well, that's what Trump's doing with these executive orders. Okay, we are directly attacking and
the whole fake and gay thing. The whole fake and gay thing. The trans issue alone. Forget about don't ask, don't tell for a minute. The trans issue alone has been a major contributor to the inability of the United States military recruiting commands across all sister services. That has been a major factor in their inability to meet recruitment missions for the last half a decade.
Oh, it goes deeper than that. It's basically most of it.
Oh, yeah, it goes much deeper than that, but that is a major factor.
At the very heart of it, it's why would young white men sign up to fight for a country that hates them? That's Correct. That's the hard MFN reality. Okay, of it. And that's the hard MFN reality that the DoD and the Pentagon refuse to look at and wear blinders of their own choosing. But anyway.
Yeah, remember, you and I were active duty when Obama was elected and inaugurated. And after that happened, all of a sudden it was, at least once a quarter, you're marched into a room with a slideshow that teaches everybody, listen, if there are white men in your unit, they hate you and they will rape you.
Yep. No, that's what, in the Army, that's for me, for most of the time I was in, if not all, going to equal opportunity quarterly training was just like all right, well, let me just go feel bad about myself for 45 minutes. All right, that's great.
Yep.
Get out of there and just be like.
I've never had it from the Army, but I have worked for Fortune 500 companies and have had similar trainings. I suspect they wouldn't be terribly different on their basic level.
Were you the janitor?
You're hilarious. I love you so much, Mario. No homo, but I love you so much, okay? Anyhow.
Sorry about that.
But no, I never it never made me hate myself. It actually made me hate the process. Like I was raised very much in a house that was really anti-racist. And even after my parents got divorced, one of the things that they still had very much in common with one another is no, there are certain things you don't say or do to your fellow human beings because they are your fellow human beings. So to be, in my 20s, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, well, we have to meet at the AT&T building for a special training, and the special training is how all these people that have a different skin color than me need all these special exceptions, and I have to be sensitive to the concept of diversity. So, motherfucker, I've been sensitive to diversity since I was in kindergarten. What are we talking about here? That whole bigotry of the soft bigotry of low expectations has infuriated the shit out of me. I'll stop ranting, but I'm just saying I've had similar trainings, and it actually made me more hostile toward race relations, not less, because people don't like to be insulted, especially if they haven't done anything wrong in the first place.
Correct.
Well, I've told EO trainers and basically, bullshit racial communist bullshit merchants, okay, in the past in an official capacity, I've told them that white people, that is people descended of Europe, constitute only 8% of the global population. We are, in fact, the most diverse people on the planet. What do you think about that? And they have nothing to say.
Wait. Are you telling me that the white Western liberal Christian is actually the most egalitarian on the planet?
We are a minority. Okay, so if the thing that disgusts me most about racial grievance or racial quota pandering is that you get Indians who actually qualify for that as well as ethnic minorities. Okay, there's 1.5 billion of you people. Okay, you are the least diverse people on the frickin' planet. Don't give me that bullshit. And and that's what this is about. Okay, we are the Trump administration. By day 3, okay, we are attacking foundational core shibboleths, okay, of the liberal world order that have existed since at least LBJ, all right, but probably going back to as far as FDR, all right, and this is causing a political earthquake, all right.
Mario, adjust your microphone up a little bit for me.
And this is causing a political earthquake, okay, attacking these core foundational shibboleths of the left, all right, and I'm glad to see it now. Bear in mind, I mean,
the emperor has no clothes. Like that's what a lot of these executive orders have amounted to. Like,
yeah, well, you're going to see legal warfare. Okay, total legal warfare.
Oh yeah, there are already lawsuits being filed by
every single one of them is going to be
ADL, SPLC over the birthright citizenship thing. But let's talk.
Yeah, they're desperately going to try and stall until the midterms.
Let's go ahead and talk about the executive orders, because that's what the show's supposed to be about today. And okay, we have talked about them a little bit, but let's get into them.
Let's do it.
We're not gonna talk about this one so much today, the January 6th pardons, because we did cover it pretty extensively yesterday. So I've got this article from Politico, and I like what they've done here. I actually like what they've done here because Trump signed a shitload of executive orders, or around 200 executive orders. But the fact is that there's some, not really duplication, but they belong in baskets, right? He didn't just sign an executive order on immigration. He signed, we're going to build the wall, shut down the border, moratorium on foreign aid, remain in Mexico policy is back in place, shut down the border, right? So there's at least 5 or 6 of the 200 that are, okay, this is immigration stuff. So I like what they've done here. They've given us these categories, and we don't need to necessarily address each individual executive order explicitly.
Well, I've got the top 6 for immigration if you want me to run them down real quick.
We'll get back to that in just a second. I do want to say this about the I want to touch on this real quick about the J6 pardons. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff like this. Adam Schiff, Pam Bondi last week on pardons for J6 offenders. I will look at every case on a case-by-case basis. So basically Schiff tried to trap her during her confirmation hearing into giving over some kind of a soundbite that he could use to run a character assassination, and asked her the question, will you allow Donald Trump to pardon the terrorists from January 6th? And there's obviously several things wrong with that, not least of which is, who the hell do you think you are? Right? Okay, the presidential pardon power, that is a power of the president. The AG might consult as a courtesy, but that's not a power that the AG actually explicitly has. And I replied, I said, did Merrick Garland review all of Biden's pardons? And we lost Cameron. Hopefully he comes back.
He'll be back.
And I said, consider your answer here, because either he did and he found nothing corrupt about issuing blanket preemptive pardons, which you yourself said are illegitimate. We covered that yesterday, right?
Trump's just taken a page from Obama's book, okay? Obama did this multiple times while he was president. He played the, well, fuck you, I'm president, that's why. And by all means, Trump, go ahead. Go ahead.
And like we've discussed on the show many times before, Biden has been explicitly held press conferences to say, listen, the Supreme Court says you can't do X, and fuck them. I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. I'm going to do what I want to do. Right.
Like Biden literally said, we'll we'll just pass it and then let the courts catch up.
And then let the courts catch up. It'll take time for the courts to catch up, and people will be able to basically rob their landlords or Cameron says his power fluckered. So he'll be back with us in a minute. So I've got the immigration right here. Mario, go ahead, and you said you've got the top 6.
Yeah, top 6. Always good. So
you want to share an article? You want to share that as an article?
I posted it in it's in the New York Times article that I posted already. Pull it up
in Camario.
In Camario, yeah.
CBS NYT, got it.
Yep, and just scroll down to immigration and the border. All right, those would be your top 6. And I'm actually, you know what? I'll give you some credit today, New York Times. This article, I was looking for a summary, okay, of basically the top hits here, and you did a good job. So credit where credit's due. Scroll down.
So
that's not the New York Times article. Oh yeah, it is. Scroll down to immigrant. There you go. All right. So bar asylum.
Yeah, it's just in reader mode, so it doesn't look like shit.
I gotcha. So bar asylum for newly arriving at the southern border. Okay, that's what you've already seen the news clips of, like the crying, hysterical, immigrant women that they can no longer get in. They're no longer going to get processed. All right, by the border guard. Okay, or it's not ICE. It's the sea customs and whatever.
Customs and Border Patrol, CBP.
Exactly. Yeah, CBP.
And you're talking about
getting processed by CBP. Right. So basically a temporary, just total shutdown. All right. And, absolutely. I mean, based on the hemorrhaging we've seen at the border for the last 4 years, it's absolutely necessary that border is just shut the hell down until we can even partially assess the damage that has been done. Move to end birthright citizenship. Okay, this is a huge one, and this is something he wanted to do, or he talked about doing during his first administration. This one is going to be attacked. There'll be legal challenges against this one, more so than any other of these.
I want to come back to that in just a second, because I want to show you guys this. What you're talking about, the crying at the border.
Yes.
This is the one that's going viral that everybody's talking about.
Yeah,
this one woman.
I think you're
right.
left.
And what I want you guys to understand, that woman right there, the story, as it were, is that she is that she's just had her asylum hearing canceled. And when Trump, and this is one of the executive orders, is he shut down the CBP app, the smartphone app. So the evil NGOs, nonprofits that we've talked about a few times on the show, they're giving smartphones to these criminal aliens so that they can download an app that's paid for with your tax dollars that allows them to apply for an illegitimate process toward asylum. So this woman that's crying about having lost her asylum hearing, but she's from Colombia. If you cannot, under international and U.S. law, you cannot seek asylum in the United States from anywhere other than Canada and Mexico. If you are coming from any country other than Canada or Mexico, you cannot seek asylum in the United States.
Right. She has to seek
if
asylum
if you want to run to a U.S. embassy in the next country, that's another matter, right? But when you tell me that you came from halfway around the world, that you went through 30 countries to get here, you're not an asylum seeker. You're a welfare seeker.
Well, yeah, but of course that's the definition. But nobody's cared about that for a decade. No one has cared about that for a decade. So, what are you going to do? It's going to hopefully the movement, the international movement, okay, of people, gets restored to what was international law. But I don't know. You can't really fight that. But what you can do is keep them. What you can do is shut down the border. All right. So, ending the birthright citizenship. Now, I would like to do a show one day on kind of doing a deep dive on how that came to be, because it's people subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, meaning like whatever country they're from is what the citizenship of any child that was born on U.S. soil would be. That's what it was intended. All right, the bill was originally intended just to give former slaves, Black Americans, the right to vote. All right, or basically equal rights, make them citizens, make them citizens. Right. Well,
there's a whole thing. There's a whole thing on social media right now where people are pointing out that all of Donald Trump's children were born to their immigrant mothers before the immigrant mothers, Ivana and Ivanka. So all the Trump kids were born to immigrant mothers before those women got their citizenship. All right, so let's start with this for birthright citizenship. Donald Trump was a natural-born American citizen at the time, and that right there, that gets you the jurisdiction thereof. So yeah, sure, go ahead and apply the law equally right there. Absolutely.
Well, it specifically outlines in Trump's executive order that the exception would be if they are the children of American citizens. Okay, the father's an American father who is present in the relationship. Okay, so in other words, the only way you get to stay in the country is if you fuck a gringo. So maybe that's the new strategy.
Cameron Stryker says, "Get your ass back in here." He misses you.
He literally can't.
He's the new Z Cheeseburger.
He literally can't. All right. Anyway, so
well, he said his power flickered. I'm assuming that he did that through his phone, and he's waiting for his internet to boot back up. There he is.
All right. So the next one is basically suspension of the refugee admission program. So the refugee pipeline is henceforth shut down. The Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society are all committing mass seppuku. No, I'm just kidding. I wish, but they're basically they're stagnating. They're treading water for now. Okay, no more action there. Sup, Cammy Cams? All right.
We can hear you clearly, Cameron. Now shut up, Mario's speaking.
Now Trump has declared the southern border. The southern border to be a national emergency, which would unlock additional administrative tools that the government is allowed to use in the pursuit of securing said border. That's good. All hands on deck. I want basically all types of ammunition available, literally and figuratively. And then resuming the policy of remain in Mexico policy, where if you have or feel that you have a legitimate claim to asylum, then you can fill out the paperwork and you can get your interview and wait for a decision, but you're going to have to remain outside of our borders while you do that. Okay. And finally, designating foreign cartels as terrorist organizations. That's a big one. That gives the DoD other tools to use in pursuit of bringing these people to justice or outright destroying them. And it also unlocks team shit. And it also unlocks financial tools to attack their money. Okay, which is even more important.
Yep.
So,
hey, just quick aside.
You're really loud.
Can I ask you guys? Well, I mean, if I can shut the fuck up, I'm sorry. But I just was curious. Why don't we just use the cartels as live fire practice for our soldiers? The soldiers get live fire practice, and cartels get fucked up.
There are Kyrgyzstani militias that send their soldiers into Afghanistan, or they used to, that would send their soldiers to Afghanistan to fight on, and they're mercenaries. We'd hire some of them. Taliban would hire some of them. They'd fight on either side. And the general idea was you're not a real soldier until you faced American warriors in combat and come back alive. And that was basically their training mechanism. And they would advertise to potential employers, potential contract buyers, hey, we are the war fighters that fought American soldiers and survived. So yeah, the thing that you're talking about, let's send our soldiers. Let's just call it boot camp. You want to be a U.S. soldier? Go bring me 5 cartel scalps, and you'll get your first. You'll get your mosquito wings. I play that game all day.
I'm sorry, Mario. That was completely my fault. Continue.
No. That was it. I just summarized it. I'd like to briefly say to Savage Lee and Sean Stryker in the chat, I can't go into that, okay, but that I would love to do a show on that at some point. That's the biggest red pill you could possibly take. So I just want you to know we're not ignoring you. We see you, okay?
Hey Mario,
So,
if you want to go into that in detail, that could definitely be a locals exclusive behind the paywall. Right. Come get you some.
But it has nothing to do with the show today. All right.
No.
So let's talk about gender, diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right. So the DEI, basically DEI related executive orders.
Let me pause you for a second, Mario. Cameron wants to say something, and then I got something I want to throw in real quick, and then we'll get and I want to get these two things out of the way real quick so that we don't interrupt you with unrelated minutia as we're going through that.
No. I was just wondering, do you have the clip from Holman where he's like, "Oh yeah, it's so sad that this immigrant's crying. Now let's ask how the parents feel." Like, because like Tom Holman, like, man, honestly,
I don't have it pulled up right now.
You know the one I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
I saw that you
said,
but I was hoping.
How do you feel about the thousands of children that they murdered? Have a nice day.
I wouldn't get overly fixated on Homan. Okay, yeah, the guy's awesome. The guy's based. Okay, but the borders are. That's not like a real job. He doesn't have an office. He doesn't have an administration. He doesn't actually have a budget. Okay, it's just an advisor position. Okay, so what Homan says isn't necessarily the law. He has no actual power unto himself. It's Kristi Noem who actually has to implement that vision. Okay, and I'm in a wait to see pattern with Kristi.
This chick's willing to shoot puppies. I don't know that I'd want to cross the border. Like shot her own dog because he was a bad dog. Nope, she could be in charge of the border. She gets it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we need to send her a letter explaining my minefield plan. You know, the one where you don't actually put any mines out, you just put out fence posts with signs, warning, minefield. Avisio, minefield. And then, once a month you walk a goat out, blow it up.
Oh, and we mentioned something yesterday about the pardons that I wanted to bring to attention. Ross Ulbricht has, in fact, been freed. Yes. For some reason, there was a slight delay. I'm not real sure what. I didn't go down the rabbit hole, but he has been freed and good. I maintain everything I said yesterday. Dude might be a total asshole, but doesn't mean he.
Well, basically, what he did, he
was arrested for. He invented technology. That's why.
I got a little bit smarter on this story, and I'm much more comfortable with his pardon now. Because he created a free trade platform that ran on crypto, and other people used it to sell things that are illegal to sell. And at the end of many of them were arrested, charged, and convicted and incarcerated for trafficking in drugs and weapons illicitly and all kind of stuff like that. But here's the thing: the people that were charged for illegal types of commerce or whatever using Silk Road, they were all sentenced to 4, 5, 6 years. Ross was sentenced to two life sentences plus 40 years. Not just more than any of the people who use this platform, but more than all of them combined. And that's psychotic. So when the Justice Department issued the conviction, they made it a point to say clearly, like we were talking about it yesterday, it was to make an example of him. I hadn't realized, no, that's an explicit statement that was made by the Justice Department. We're doing it this way specifically to make an example of him to other people who might consider doing commerce with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency. And of course, now cryptocurrency is much, much more mainstream. To get back to the summary that we were talking about, the one thing that I wanted to touch on real quick before we get further into the summary, I'm snowed in. I'm in no hurry to get off the air this morning. So I know, Mario, you've probably got a hard out in just a few minutes here, but Cameron, I'm good to hang out as long as you want to.
I through happenstance happen to have the day off as well. not weather.
Okay,
related.
well then let's dig in. I might leave the two of you talking while I go take a leak in a minute here, but otherwise, let's do it.
Yeah, I might have to refill my coffee, but sure.
Yeah.
All right, Ross Ulbricht is free. Do we know when the rest of, because there was about 1,600 people were arrested in relation to January 6th, and only about 1,500 have had commutations to their sentence. Do we know?
Oh, they were not. They didn't have commutations. They were.
I know, Chris. Okay. I know, but I'm saying, but what I'm asking about is the remaining 100 people. Do we know what's going on with them?
I don't have any. I don't have any new intel on that yet.
It's going to be like individual review, like Vance hinted at, like Trump even hinted at, like Pam Bondi hinted at. Those people will be up for individual review, or so it seems. Anyway. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is effectively dead in America. Okay.
Yes.
Like this. It may well be the trans genocide that the left has been.
Well, let's be clear about what this means. Terminate DEI programs across the federal government. That is so.
Just this morning, I read that there is now basically he's putting anyone involved in DEI at the human resources level in all federal government agencies are basically no longer, they don't come to work. They're on paid leave pending review of what to do with them. Okay.
Better start typing up your resume.
And there's been a freeze on hiring for any new positions related to DEI, total hiring freeze on that. All right. So you're looking at an entire industry that is going to be crippled and destroyed. All right.
Yes.
So all those people who basically went to college, okay, specifically to become a racial communist and work for the government, that grift is over. Like that is a paradigm shift. Okay. That is an upending, ripping something out by the roots, because you can no longer get employed by that. All right. I
bet Matt Walsh is heartbroken.
Yeah, well, it's a great.
This certificate means nothing now.
It's actually great. It's justice. It really is justice, because, we had warned people basically who were going to college, getting into huge amounts of student loan debt just to get degrees in what I would consider the deepest and apocryphal levels of the humanities, okay, which is racial grievance studies, gender studies, etc. Right? We told them, like, that's not a real job. Like, you can't. What are you doing? You're not gonna. You're gonna be poor. You're not gonna have a job. And we were wrong, because the federal government under Obama created those jobs and positions for them. Okay, it was a direct leftist seminary to government job pipeline. Okay. And they got a little too haughty, didn't they? They got a little too proud of themselves, try to wield power a little too aggressively against Americans. And now your shit's collapsing at the foundation. And there is no greater schadenfreude for me than this. Go ahead.
There's been a movement in American corporations over the last year, and I hate that I forget the guy's name, but there's a guy out there that's basically he created himself a job where basically he goes to these companies and he asks them questions about their DEI policies and says, hey, I'm putting together a YouTube documentary that people are going to watch, and I'd like to know about your DEI policies. And the answer to his question has become more often than not, oh, you're here to ask questions about it. Gotcha. Then the answer to your question is, we're shutting it down and firing everybody, because holy shit, do we not want everybody else seeing that we have DEI here? And to your point about the industry collapsing, I tell you what I'd like to see. So Biden was forgiven all these student loan debts, right? I want to see a study of the people whose student loans were forgiven. And I don't believe that they were just randomly forgiven. I don't believe that they were chosen at random to be forgiven. I bet you if you look at that study, you'll find that a dramatically outsized portion of those people specifically had these grievance studies degrees because it was a move by the leftist, by the organized left, to essentially subsidize the grievance culture with American tax dollars, which they've been doing it, and this was an overt move to do more of it.
It was predominantly government employees. Obama actually said as much. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, look. Just because somebody else didn't get the amazing cancer cure doesn't mean you should be mad that the next person did get the amazing cancer cure, Chris. Well, just because your mom died of cancer doesn't mean I should be upset that my mom gets to get cured of cancer.
What?
I'm not. Oh, it's an argument that I heard over and over again in relation to the student loan debt. Somebody would say, this is bullshit. I've been making my student loan payments on time for years, and now so-and-so gets their student loan debt forgiven. And the argument would always involve something like, oh, just because one person died of cancer.
I don't have a problem. Okay, brief aside. I don't have a problem with student loan forgiveness. Okay, I have a problem with student loan forgiveness where at the same time we're not getting rid of the mechanisms that created it in the first place. Okay, if you're going to get rid of student debts, okay, excessive student debts, all right, basically do away with the usury that is the modern university system. Good, I get it. Okay, but the Pell Grants, the government loan factory that actually created this in the first place and subsidized the continuous increase in college tuition, that has to be shut down with it. You don't get rid of the problem and then leave you don't kill the plant. You don't cut down the plant and then leave all the weeds in place or all the roots in place to grow right back. Because that's what will happen.
If you want to get a student, if you want to get a loan, if you want to finance your education, right, your ass needs to go and sit down with a banker and present a plan. Here's my business plan. My plan is over a period of 4 years to spend this amount of money on tuition, on housing, on books, on food, the whole nine, get a degree in engineering, and then I'm going to get a job that pays $150,000 a year. And after 5 years in that job, I'm going to open my own firm. This is my plan, and I need $150,000, $200,000 to get to proceed on that plan. And the banker looks at you and says, "Okay, I believe that you have a good plan. What's your collateral?" Because I guarantee you this: you're not going to walk in and sit down with a banker and your plan says, "I want to get my degree in underwater grievance studies. I want to get my degree in African studies or trans theory studies or queering the establishment studies." Right?
It's
like
a
whole raft of topics right there. The queering music, queering theater, queering they use the word queering, and it's automatically a net positive.
Yeah, like a verb.
Yeah, it's a verb.
So you know how you do this?
It's just real quick. It's yes, Larry. It's preemptive accountability. Okay, it's taking out a loan is serious business. So prove to me that you're serious. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, look. Here's how you solve this. Simple. Student loans cannot be discharged through bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Biden. Biden did that.
Yeah. If you could discharge student loans through bankruptcy, because when you can't get rid of them through bankruptcy, there's no incentive for anybody to lend the money responsibly, because legally they can come after you potentially for the rest of your fucking life, literally, to get that money back. And then there's no incentive for the schools to be competitive in their pricing structure, because it doesn't matter what they charge for you to go to school there. You can get the loan because there's all this discrimination bullshit in place that's going to make sure if you're a black, gay, Indian, Muslim, half trans, whatever, that you're going to be guaranteed to get the loan. Then when you can't pay it back because going to school for learning how to queer Disney cartoons might have a collapsing market, well, no, that's fine. That's fine. You're not allowed to go to bankruptcy court and say, "I've overextended myself and I need help." So that's how you do it. You let student loans be bankruptable, and problem will solve itself almost immediately.
Yes, bankruptcy is the mechanism to like rectify a financial unsolvable. You know what I mean? Like that's what it
Right.
exists for.
Right.
Where
Like they
we're
literally
both-
call it
we're both parties-
restructuring.
where both parties get something. All right. Anyway, so anyway, DEI, all that. Yeah, DEI is done. Tariffs and trade. Okay. So we're going to direct federal agencies to begin an investigation into trade practices, including persistent trade deficits. Okay. So this comes down to the tariffs that Trump is threatening, both on Canada and Mexico, if they fail to be good neighbors. Okay, that's what this is coming down to. If you're not a good neighbor, then you get charged 25%. All right, which would effectively collapse the Mexican and Canadian economies. Canada right now is basically doing their own threat back to us. They're saying that they're going to shut off oil and gas, which flows into America through a lot of pipelines, most of them in North Dakota.
Yeah, they don't have the stones for it.
That are essential to our energy infrastructure. Well, it's mutually assured destruction. I don't know if Canada would follow through on that.
No, there's no way. They can't back it up.
Canada right now is in political turmoil. Anyway, they do not have the ability to politically project any will across the border to us. So. Also, Trump,
for better or worse, we're the kid that was 6 feet tall at 15 years old, and Canada is not that kid, and they're swearing up and down, "I'll hit you back." Yeah, okay, sure, buddy. Yeah, you hit back. Let's see what happens.
The beauty of the tariffs, like, yes, we should replace our entire tax system with tariffs, but even short of that, just the fact that Justin Trudeau resigned is all the proof you need that, if nothing else, the threat of tariffs, right? That an armed society is a polite society. Hey, do right, because we can punish you, and that's something that America needs to lean into more.
Well, and it's a negotiating tactic.
It's the same way they got the hostages released, not with tariffs, but just Donald Trump saying, "Hey, I'm about to be president again. Remember the Moab?"
Yep.
And Hamas came out screaming, "Don't go to Moab!"
The Houthis are doing the same thing. They're basically gonna stop harassing shipping through the Gulf of Aden, specifically probably because that. I mean, if Sana'a or Muscat, the coastal cities in Yemen, I'd love to see a Moab. What a Moab does to a non-rebar reinforced concrete structures, for miles. That'd be interesting. So,
I see angry Canadian. I see angry Canadian in the chat. Trudeau is a bad neighbor, not the rest of us. Look, I hear you. I see you.
We know that.
Yeah.
Hey, we get it, eh?
We know.
We love you too, eh?
And look, here's the difference, though.
Have you ever run 10 miles to get you a Tim Hortons? Because I have.
Here's the difference, though. Trump has proven he might do the thing, and those of us that have any experience with any real negotiations understand that Trump puts a lot of shit on the table so that as the deals are cut, he can actually take a lot of things back off the table and use them as negotiating tools. He doesn't intend to put tariffs on the majority of the countries around the world. Nobody with half a brain actually believes that that's going to be the net result here.
Well, at least not 25%, but yeah.
So, but what is he doing? But what is he doing is he's saying, okay, look, guys, fine. You want to play this game? You want to take advantage of the fact that, like, how messed up is the entire world that is fiscally irresponsible as the U.S. has been? We're still the biggest economy and the best bet.
Right.
So what's Donald Trump doing? He's leveraging that. He's saying, okay, guys, you want to keep doing business with America? You can either be nice or I'll slap tariffs on you. And yeah, the tariffs will hurt my country, but I'm willing to bet they'll hurt your country more. Ronald Reagan proved this. He kicked the USSR's ass with money. He knew that if he escalated our spending irresponsibly, if you want to make that argument, but he knew that if he escalated our spending, Russia would also have to escalate their spending. And he knew the Russian economy couldn't take it. And we're still in that position with the rest of the world. We can, fine, you know what? Fine, we'll tariff everything. Let's see who cracks first.
Oh, wait. Big Controversial says, I was in Kandahar when they moved the Tim Hortons off the boardwalk to the Canadian side of the base. They moved it. That's actually the Tim Hortons I was talking about, Big Controversial, the one that I ran 10 miles to get some coffee and donuts. They moved it off the boardwalk on Kandahar, and they put it over not just on the Canadian side of the base. They actually put it in the Canadian Special Forces compound. So you had to be some kind of Five Eyes spook. You had to have clearance to even get in there. Like they locked that shit down. They became the Spooky Donuts, and they were amazing.
I like it.
You've never had a donut so good as a donut in a donut desert.
I mean, I had a Whopper in Iraq, but I mean, I guess that's not as cool. Anyway, so
I had Whoppers for breakfast when Burger King was serving them for breakfast.
Yes.
That was pretty fun.
And I'll give them this: halal fries are delicious because they're cooked in beef tallow.
I would say it's. I don't want to get bogged down on this, but it is kind of funny that the meme where it states that the most terrifying example of America's global reach and global power is the fact that we can pack a fully loaded Burger King in a C-130 and drop it off anywhere in the world.
Oh.
But anyway, so External Revenue Service, that's another executive order, basically looking for ways to basically collect money from people, overseas. So I guess that would go hand in hand with the implementation of any tariffs that do occur, or for especially NATO, basically forcing people to pay. Okay, so I guess it's going to be.
I want to, Mario, because you mentioned that, just for the audience, in case you think that that's kind of a joke or whatever, there's a Burger King on almost every military base. There are not McDonald's. It's always Burger King. And what Mario was saying about putting a Burger King in a C-130 and deploying.
Yes.
That's absolutely a thing.
It's a real Burger King.
It's basically a Burger King in a food truck on a deuce and a half. Come get some.
For some reason, somehow the Navy got the contract with McDonald's and the Army got left with Burger King. I'd like to review that contract, okay? Because
flame broiled superior.
I'm like Trump. I need the Big Mac and the fillet of fish. It does it for me, okay? I don't know why. And then
you like things that are cheap. I've seen your girlfriends.
Damn, son. Damn.
It's okay.
Are we playing lunch money at this table? Damn.
Well, I'm a realistic looks maxer. Okay, I go for what I can get. So anyway,
you know what?
Listen, motherfucker, I'm a 6 and I hunt 6s.
Only video we need to do. We need to assemble the horde, drinks and red meat, and just film all of us playing lunch money at a big round table.
I love Lunch Money. That is a fantastic game.
Anyhow, playing Lunch Money in the barracks.
I played it a long time. I mean, I remember the game, but I haven't played it a long time.
You'd remember how to play. It would all come back to you really quick.
Stupid easy.
Okay. So,
Look, so I get the
shit talk.
The Department of External Revenue Service or whatever. Okay, this is one of those things where I get it. I really, really, really get it. I do, but at the same time,
it's more of a concept than a reality.
Look, concept or not, if there's any one thing that I think I might end up coming down on the other side of, this would be it. Now, if we were going to entirely eliminate the IRS, that'd be totally different. But we're not talking about eliminating the IRS. We're talking about potentially adding the ERS. And once you give a government a power, you almost never get the government. You almost never get that power back from the government. And once you give a government the ability to tax something, you almost never get the ability to rescind that tax. the IRS started out as like, oh, it's only going to be like 1 to 3% on those evil rich people. And then literally just a couple of decades later, the tax code was this long cut. Yes, I know it was faster than that, Chris, but good Lord, you don't have to say you're right. Let me tell you how right you are. Like, but the point is, it just within a matter of a couple of years or a couple of decades or whatever, the tax code had evolved into the massive monstrosity that it is. So having a new body dedicated to taxes, I'm like, at a minimum, we need to get rid of the current body before we do that.
Well, okay, so
it's the external revenue service, okay? So it's only designed to target foreign adversaries, okay? Just like the CIA.
Oh, you mean like the Patriot Act?
It's not going to affect us here at home. It's nothing to worry about.
So, hey Mario, your mic. Hey Mario, your mic's dropped a little bit. Adjust it again.
Yeah.
Here's my push. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. Here's what I got. So one of the things that Trump ran on is taking measures to eliminate the income tax and the Internal Revenue Service. I'm not saying he's going to get it done, but let's be real. He's kept he's kept more political promises on day one of his presidency than probably any other president has kept in the entirety of their administration, including himself in his first administration. So, I can take a little bit of hope and faith with the fact that he has talked about eliminating taxes on tips, income tax, overtime taxes, and the IRS. And then the other thing I'll say about it, IRS versus ERS, if the ERS is what we need to get to the abolition of the IRS, I could take total solace in two things. One, fuck the IRS. That's easy. But two, and this is kind of a piece with fuck the IRS, the ERS, as described as a mechanism of external revenue service to collect taxes and to collect tariffs and levies on foreign trade coming into the country, that is a constitutionally tolerable position. That's a constitutionally tolerable entity. Whereas the IRS is so offensive to the Constitution that it required an amendment to create it. And basically anything after the Bill of Rights. So this is a bit of an aside, but it works. The Bill of Rights was basically the founding fathers saying, okay, we've got the Constitution, everything's good, this is going to be a great government. And then some of them said, now hold on a minute. Were we sufficiently clear on the fact that the government is not allowed to walk into your house without permission or extraordinary extenuating circumstances? Were we adequately clear that you could say everything you want to say? Were we adequately clear that you shouldn't be thrown in a hole for the rest of your life because you crossed the street at the wrong time? So the first 10 amendments are, let's clarify what we mean. No, government, you're not allowed to do stuff. Every amendment after that is an attempt to shoehorn into the law something that is repugnant to the Constitution.
Well, it's an attempt to undermine the 10th Amendment, okay, basically.
Correct.
So, yeah.
The IRS falls into that category. Women voting falls into that category. Abolition falls into that category. The direct election of senators falls into that category. So everything that happened after the 10th Amendment is repugnant to the Constitution.
Last thing, yeah, I agree. The last thing on economics before moving into energy and the environment, I would say just on what you said, Larry, using the ERS as a vehicle to get rid of the IRS. Trump has actually directly referenced that when he spoke about how President McKinley, used foreign tariffs to basically, the government was able to pay for itself entirely with tariffs on foreign goods rather than taxing the American people. So Trump directly referenced that during the campaign, and I think that's what you're going on about. All right, energy and the environment. So drill, baby, drill, right? All right. So
Hell
first,
yeah.
withdrawing the United States from the Paris Climate Accords, which he had already done, but then Biden, of course, see that when we talk about the dictatorial president, okay, that's kind of the problem. Every time there's a new president from a different party, they're basically just going to be undoing what the previous guy did, and then the other guy undoes what the other guy did, and it's kind of it's new territory. It's politically sloppy. It's constitutionally, I don't know, questionable, but I guess that's what we're just gonna. That's the new reality, okay, of living in a post Republican, age of the Caesar style America, which is where we're going. So
we've all heard you can vote your way into communism, but you can't vote your way out, right? You can vote your way in,
your way out.
shoot your way out.
Mhm.
What Trump is doing here with these executive orders is he's making a very clear declarative statement. Yes, you can vote your way out of communism, but communism is ugly, and voting your way out is going to be ugly. I watched Tim Pool last night, and he had actually I highly recommend last night's Timcast show. He had Thomas Massey on, and he had Dominic Chatrucki. He's a Polish member of parliament. So Dominic was fantastic through the whole thing, because basically everything he said was, listen, I joined to serve in government because I hate communists. I study law so I can try to put to jail every communist, which is all Russians and Kamala Harris, and I want the communists all to die and be in jail. Like that's his whole shtick. But I bring it up now because Massey pointed this out, and I thought it was very nice to hear. It was very good to hear this point. Exactly what Mario was just talking about. Obama ran a bunch of bullshit executive orders. Trump replied with a bunch of bullshit executive orders because he was basically put in an untenable position where that was his option. Biden immediately flipped all of Trump's executive orders and destroyed our economy in doing so. Trump is coming in and throwing down a raft of at least 78 of the executive orders that he signed on day one were direct contraventions and repudiations of specific Biden executive orders. And Massey came on Timcast last night, and he explained, listen, one of the reasons we've talked about this, right? We've talked about this with Donald Trump. One of the reasons he's doing all these executive orders on day one is to put us in a position where over the first 6 months of this presidency, the Congress, which is controlled by Republicans, and the House, which is controlled, even if narrowly, by Republicans currently, can put all of this into law. And it will have the force of law, of legislation, instead of being a totally vulnerable executive order. So when the next guy comes in, he can't just EO his way out of prosperity the way that Biden did.
Yep, I agree with that completely. Yep, the real solution is the legislative reinforcement, okay, of the executive orders. Without that, it is just a game of tit for tat, back and forth, depending on the administration. So, all right. So withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accords, of course, right? Declaring a national energy emergency, unlock new powers, and suspend certain environmental rules. So that's going to be good for offshore drilling. Reversing the ban on offshore drilling. I was a commercial diver for a number of years, and the diving industry really sinks or swims, pun intended, based on the environmental policy related to offshore drilling largely. All right. Repealing some of the most obnoxious emission laws for vehicles, rolling back the energy efficiency regulations for home appliances. Okay, so I guess you can get the lower cost tankless hot water heater now. Okay, which Biden tried to ban. Biden tried to ban gas stoves. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Opening the Alaskan wilderness ANWR, opening that for more oil exploration. And reviews, gas related. So what's the guy's name? Isn't he the governor? Was the governor of Burgum, right? Doug Burgum, right? From
Doug Burgum,
one of the Dakotas. Yeah. So he's going to be he's the Secretary of the Interior. He's going to be the one implementing most of this. All right. A big one is environmental justice programs. Okay, so like basically DEI. Now, you're going to
for the environment.
You're going to exactly environmental discrimination or whatever. So that just shows you how pervasive the DEI shit has become. All right, it has managed to weasel its way into every single aspect of the government policy. Okay, even where it clearly has no business belonging. All right, so and then just a major review of all federal regulations. Okay, as for what's going to happen to TikTok, TikTok basically did a publicity stunt. Well, you guys have probably already talked about TikTok. Maybe I shouldn't mention that.
We didn't talk about TikTok. But
Cameron,
can we pause?
Cameron, go ahead real quick, and then we'll get back to TikTok.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about the TikTok thing, but and I appreciate a lot of what Trump's doing here, but I think we got a lot deeper problems with vehicles in this country because emission standards have been the goal for so long. Not price, not affordability, not even safety, which is the things that most of us would worry about, but emission standards. And I've spent a year selling cars. Let me tell you, that just like with everything else, they can play fuck games with how they calculate their emission standards. Just because that sticker on the side of the car says 33 miles to the gallon doesn't mean you will ever get 33 miles to the gallon out of that vehicle. Don't kid yourself. But the thing that has really screwed up vehicles in this country and why they're so insanely unaffordable, like brand new F-150s costing $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Shit, just a decade ago, I could have bought a Cracker Box house for $50,000.
And now to go F-150 for $30,000, I'd go get it right now.
But now that's what it costs just to get a truck, and that comes from the fact that cash for clunkers happened. I'm really worried that no matter what we do, unless there are some radical shifts in car manufacturing and what the expectation out of American-made cars is, like all this stuff with emission standards, we should get rid of it. It's ridiculous, but I don't think it's going to solve the problem because it used to be like you could scratch up $500 and you could buy a clunker. And that clunker could last you for a year or two, get you back and forth to get you back and forth to your job, get you back on your feet. And now that secondary market of those vehicles is gone. Cash for clunkers, I think, outside of Obamacare, is probably the most evil thing that Obama did because it destroyed so many Americans' ability to build their life and or rebuild their life from having some method to cheaply become more independent. And so yes, please, let's get rid of the emission standards, but there's going to be a whole package of things here. I don't want more computers on my fucking car. Okay. No, I just
correct. That's exactly it. That's the problem with the U.S. auto industry.
Cameron, I'm glad you
is that regulation.
Go ahead, Mario.
So real quick, the problem with the U.S. auto industry is that regulation increases the complexity of vehicles, okay, which increases the price of vehicles, but it doesn't legislate an increase in quality of said vehicles, okay?
Yeah, it doesn't make them better.
The more modern your vehicle, the more things that can go wrong with it. With an older vehicle, if the car won't start, it's because, the starter went bad, okay?
And you can bang on your starter and get it to crank one more time to take it to the auto shop.
Yes, and you can stick a wrench in there and connect the solenoid and make it start if you have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where with the modern vehicle, it's like
I've changed an alternator in a Pet Boys park, or it was no Riley's parking lot.
Whereas with a modern vehicle, the car won't start because the computer didn't do something it's supposed to do. How are you going to fix that? You can't fix that. Increasing complexity without an increase in quality is bad for the consumer.
Pitt Danny says a brand new Grand Cherokee is $110,000, and you know what I said? Fuck you! I'll never buy a new car ever again. I don't care how much money I make.
I never have. I've only ever bought used vehicles.
I did once.
I'm glad, Cameron. I'm glad that you brought up cash for clunkers because it's such a fantastic example of a Democrat policy. Like we've talked about this many times before. The outcome, the bad outcome, was not, this didn't work the way we wanted it to. That was the point. The bad outcome was the point. So with Cash for Clunkers, they destroyed functional working vehicles that were just older, right? And
they deliberately pulled them out of the market. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Hey,
Deliberately pulled them out of the market. So lowered supply, drove demand up through the roof, and made it so that for a period it was more expensive to buy a used car than a new car, all in service of Green New Deal stuff in theory. But what they were really after, and this is always the objective with the Democrat. Same thing with Goober, whatever his name was, talking about the point to Obamacare was that it fails so that everybody has to get on board with the communist plan. The same thing with Cash for Clunkers, and I can name 1,000 other programs like this. The point is to inflate your currency, cause you to be impoverished, and convince you that you have no choice but to vote for Daddy Warbucks to write you food stamps and subsidize your housing and pay your heating bill for you because you're not an adult. You're a child until you die.
Yeah, look, they're deliberately trying all these programs.
I want to
go ahead, Mario.
Someone in the audience, real quick. Hey, unverified. I got to know what does a used like shipbox Ford K2 go for these days? I want one. I remember seeing them when I was in the UK. It's the people's car. All right, go ahead.
All these programs, everything from the DEI to the environmental regulations to stuff like Cash for Clunkers, the left seems to understand that people, when left to their own devices, are going to prioritize. They're going to prioritize economy. They're going to prioritize safety. They're going to prioritize price. And if you're thinking to yourself, okay, the family vehicle is about to give out and I'm going to go buy another car and I'm going to be tied to this car that I buy for the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm really carefully going to consider my options and price and what all that car can do for me and how dependable is it. And dear God, if something goes wrong, how hard is it to get in and make some adjustments and all that. That's the kind of thing that a normal person is going to look at. Like, okay, yeah, sure. You want to put a computer in my car. That's cool, but I don't need it. I don't need it at all. I'd be okay. Like you remember when you used to roll your windows up and down manually? Yeah. Those things, I've never had one of those break ever in my life, but I've had multiple of the electronic windows going up and down break on me. So
I rolled my windows down manually yesterday.
So yes, right. So the point is rescinding all of these things about everything from DEI to the environment to energy. It's not just rescinding the bad policies. It's actually rescinding the incentives that the left has snuck into our government system to nudge people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise choose to do. Most people would not choose to pay extra money to have a computer on their car. They would choose to pay less money just to choose to pay less money. And can't have that.
Yep.
So, hey, I love paying less money. I'm refinancing this house next Monday just to shave 2 points off.
Yeah.
Thanks. I love you less money. So let's get to the TikTok ban.
All right. Actually, I'm gonna have to cut out here in a minute.
Bitch.
All right, TikTok quick. Let's do it.
Let's do TikTok quick. Well, hey,
we can't
Mario before you cut out, unless you're just about to shit yourself. We got TikTok ban, and then there's just a couple of quickies here, and then we're done.
No, so, I have to go do something before I have to go. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Unverified. And yes, I figured that would be the case. It's the cost of compliance is you got a license for that, mate. Thank you.
You got a license for that.
The license costs more than the car. Okay. Anyway. All right. Love you guys. I'll see you later this week. All right.
Later, brother.
All right, bye.
Be safe. Be warm. All right, TikTok ban.
All right, TikTok ban. Yeah, Mario was about to say TikTok pulled a stunt.
It says consult federal agencies on any national security risks posed by the social media platform, then pursue a resolution that protects national security while saving a platform used by 170 million Americans. Honestly, I'm not with the Donald on this one. I say ban it.
Well, and Mario was going to say that TikTok pulled a stunt. Are you tracking on what happened here? That like they deliberately made their own servers go dark just long enough to get people pissed off and then turned their servers back on. Okay, I shit you not. My niece spent the night here, and when she woke up on Saturday morning, right, within minutes of her waking up, I heard her exclaim, "What? Really?" And she was pissed that her TikTok had been deactivated. So the stunt was effective. And boy, okay. I'm not going to go down 4,000 rabbit holes here because the TikTok ban thing is interesting. But I'll note, TikTok doesn't have to be banned. TikTok could be divested. And China,
to be clear, that is what the law requires, is that they divest from China.
But of course, China doesn't want that. It will be like when Elon Musk took over X, and all of a sudden we could prove that certain horrible, terrible, and no good things were happening on Twitter. If we had access to TikTok's source code for their algorithm, like China, in all seriousness, they can't afford for us to look at it. Like they can't.
Correct. Because TikTok, X, Facebook, YouTube, anything that you give to those apps, they resell. If it's free, you are the product. They sell it to data brokers who use it to craft advertising, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that you agree to put into that app. TikTok terms of service. When you sign up for TikTok and agree to their terms of service give them access to your phone, to everything outside of the app on your phone. Everything. So if you have TikTok, your banking details, the password to your bank account, your credit history, everything you've ever done on your phone, the Chinese have it. And when we say the Chinese, we mean the Chinese intelligence agencies, the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government, not TikTok. I mean, they have it too, but an active adversary of the United States of America who traffics in just unbelievable levels of illicit activities, including drug trade and slavery and organ harvesting, now has your data.
Yeah, don't look up the Uyghur Muslims or the Falun Gong. That's those are don't look up either one of those things.
Not without a bottle of whiskey and a box of Kleenex.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you want a good reason not to keep guns in your house? Go look up the Falun Gong and the Uyghur Muslims.
So I do understand why Donald's doing this, though. He has people that helped him get elected that have billions of dollars invested in TikTok. And even though TikTok algorithmically demoted him and algorithmically promoted Kamala Harris, it still was a tool that he used to win. And for better or worse, Donald puts a premium on loyalty. And look, fair enough. Okay. I think this is unfortunately the more negative side to it. One of his billionaire buddies helped him. And even though TikTok didn't want to help him, it ended up helping him kind of against its own will. And his loyalty is kicking in. Everything we like about Donald Trump, well, this is the negative side of it.
Yeah. Basically.
But I have to give the Chi-Coms credit. Turning it off just long enough to get people pissed off. Like, Okay, you know what? Good move.
Yeah, that's a solid propaganda maneuver.
Like I still think you guys are pieces of shit, but that was a smart play. It was effective.
But yeah, my entire opinion on TikTok boils down to fuck China. It really is that simple. So the other kind of also rans withdraw from the World Health Organization.
Oh, my favorite! One of my very, 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 very favorites.
Like in this summary, it gets reduced to withdraw from the World Health Organization. But you know what? Bring it on. UN, NATO, get us out.
I don't think we'll have to. I think this is one of those things. Like Donald Trump didn't drop a whole lot of MOABs. After he dropped the first one, everybody went, "Oh shit!" Like assholes puckered up super tight. And I think pulling out of the WHO is a smart play because, of course, they're the organization that wants to play all the games with China and remember that super awkward thing with what's Taiwan?
Oh well, I was asking about.
Yeah, exactly.
No, let's just move on to the next one.
and of course, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about an organization that they didn't drop the ball. They helped China cover up what had happened. Like they didn't just make a mistake. They were complicit in the virus, as the critical drinker puts it, the unspecified virus of unknown origin.
Yeah.
Well, no, like turns out that no, this was gain of function research that got out of control, and after it got out of control, China decided to weaponize it and make the most out of it, and it. Like everything that happened with the coronavirus through the entire world's economy out of whack. So many people died that didn't have to die because we couldn't even honestly talk about where it came from or why it got loose or the fact that it was gain of function research. I am still furious to this day that Herman Cain died because of this stupid virus. The man survived colon cancer where he literally had like a large percentage of his bowels removed, and this virus came along and took him out. And it took him out because we couldn't have any honest conversations about it. So Donald Trump pulling out of the WHO not only it's essentially a MOAB, but it has the added benefit of saying, look, China, I'm putting you on fucking notice. That's what this is, and that's why I'm such a big fan of it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the WHO phone call. Yo, I just dropped the link in the chat for you guys. That's Dr. Randomer Cam on that phone call with the WHO, and it's hilarious.
Oh God, that.
Who was driving the tanks, sir? Who was driving the tanks? Or should I say, was who driving the tanks? So yeah, y'all should go check that one out. It's about a 9-minute video where he took the phone call, the Skype call with the WHO rep, and it's actually entitled "Interview with Doctor Who." But yeah, excellent work there. And yeah, the World Health Organization was, I'm ready to put on a tinfoil hat over that stuff. I would go so far as to accuse the World Health Organization of having been complicit in, at a minimum, covering up the lab leak and attempting to basically take steps to protect the reputation of China.
Absolutely.
Which caused the virus to be
worse.
To be worse than it was. Not even the virus. Caused the reaction to the virus to be worse. They basically used a virus that has a near guarantee of survival and used it as a beating stick to threaten us all and scare everybody into hiding out in their rooms and closing their businesses and crashing the global economy.
Yeah, and paving the way for the most suspicious election of my lifetime.
Right, and basically, you don't even have to believe that the virus was an engineered bioweapon that was intentionally released to look at the facts around what happened after the virus. Understand the old Rahm Emanuel saw about never let a crisis go to waste. To expect that several global entities looked at the situation and said, "Okay, I can accept the idea that maybe the virus wasn't released intentionally to begin with, but in no way can you convince me that these organizations like the WHO and others didn't decide, hey, this is our chance to make them live in the pods, make them eat the bugs, get them in the 15-minute cities, shut down personal transportation, basically eliminate liberty and prosperity globally." That's what they did. They tried to use the crisis, to take advantage of the crisis, to put you in boxes. In China, they literally welded people into their homes.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So and I realize there's a few other things we want to touch on, but I really want to drive this point home. The fact that it's the WHO. Oh my God, what are we going to do if we pull out of the WHO? I don't know. Maybe more accurately assess how to deal with a pandemic next time. That's what we could do without the WHO. Maybe we could actually ask questions about China and Taiwan, not even because we're trying to be political, but because, it's a virus and it has this thing called transmission vectors, and we need to know what those transmission vectors are and how they fucking work. So I love this one. If there was anything that I get the NATO and oh God, the big one that's headquartered in New York City. Crap. I can't believe it. Thank you. Sorry. It's how little I think of them. I get that. Look, I get that the UN and NATO and all these things are problems, but the WHO, man, if I were in charge, if I had the Donald's ear, man, no. Don't worry about NATO or any of that. Pull out of the WHO. You'll make your point. You will seriously make your point by doing that.
Yeah. Then we've got rename Mount Denali in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, these are good, America first kind of power plays.
These are free throws. Like he's standing on the line taking cheap shots.
Yeah, this is putting your name on the side of the tower. Like, I built this beautiful skyscraper, and oh, by the way, it says Trump on the side of it in big gold letters. I'm in. In fact, I'd like to see a sign 10 times the size of the Hollywood sign, right? Off the coast, on the coast where Texas touches the Gulf of what used to be Mexico, but just big ass letters, Gulf of America. I'm in. Ensure that states carrying out the death penalty have a sufficient supply of lethal injection drugs. Cameron, I think we might be able to do a whole show just on that because of the conversations we've had around the death penalty previously.
Yeah, we're going to have to skip over that one.
Just to summarize, I am generally pro death penalty, but I agree with Cameron that the state in its current form cannot be trusted with that authority.
Yeah, Chris, you actually summarized my position pretty well.
It says fly the American flag at full staff on Monday and on future inauguration days. Implement the Department of Government Efficiency, the Elon Musk-led cost-cutting initiative. Okay, that is the definition of an appropriate act to be taken with an executive order.
Okay, pull that comment up. But bitch, why did you drop out of the show if you're just going to end up in the chat? Like what?
Because he's watching the show on his phone with his elbows on his knees. You can see it in his face. He didn't have to go. He had to go.
He had to go. Like, he had to do the Charmin squeeze. Yeah, he says the name changes are Trump teabagging the left. I like that better than my free throw analogy. That's him. Just he's twisting the knife. Okay, Doge. I really want to see what happens with Doge. I'm really glad that Elon is in charge of it, and I do think that this needs to get pushed forward. And there is a serious balancing act that needs to be done with Doge because some care does need to be taken. Like, love it or hate it. And Malay proved that we could. What? Why'd I go away?
I was trying to solo you because I'm going to mute my mic for just a second.
Okay, so love it or hate it. Our government is intertwined with a lot of things, both in our lives and with the entire world. So, and I was just about to get there, angry Canadian, Javier Milei. And I think that Javier Milei is a good model, is a good place to start. However, because of all of the things that America is intertwined with, like we literally, the American dollar is why the world is so stable. And please believe that that is a fact. So when we start messing with the American economy in a bad way, we actually decrease world security. And I think that that is a thing that needs to be paid attention to. Now, I don't think we should have to wait a year for a report from Doge, and then 6 months after the report from Doge comes out, we start implementing the things that Doge recommended. No, that's stupid. But I think it's simply not practical or feasible to go as extreme as Milei went. And I love the dude. Okay, ever since he gave the interview where the reporter asked him, say, "Hey, what's your problem with leftists?" And he says, "Because leftists are shit." Like, didn't pull any punches. Like, I love the dude, and he has proven that if you just get the government out of the way, you can have all of this prosperity. But I just caution everyone to be very mindful of exactly what they ask for coming out of Doge, because we are a bigger economy. We are more intertwined in the entire world sphere of influence than Argentina. Like, if Argentina had collapsed because of what Milei did, who cares? I mean, Argentinians care, but outside of that, who cares? But if the U.S. collapses because of economic decisions we make, well, the whole world cares, and they care a lot. So there's a really, really, really thin line that's going to have to be walked here. Doge is going to need to move quickly, but they are going to have to move carefully and deliberately. So hopefully Chris is back. Oh, look at that. I timed the rant perfectly.
No, I sat here and waited for you to finish. So I had to step away for just a second, and then I came back before you were quite out of steam, and I was moving one of my Pelican cases over here so I could prop my feet up in front of the heater because holy shit, my toes is frozen. But yes, everything. I don't think Milei is too extreme. I think that Trump can come in and just start shutting down lots of departments. The Department of Education is right at the top of my list.
Okay, just shutting down departments that don't have a direct impact on the economy, sure. Okay, that I would agree with.
Well, every department has a direct impact on the economy. It's a suck.
Right.
Every government department is a direct negative on the economy.
Yes, Chris. Now, can I bring some Bertrand Russell in and say emotively, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, there are some things that have a bigger impact on the economy than others. So yeah, like, fuck the Department of Education. It's obviously a failure. But that's look, I won't go back on my rant. I maintain what I said, that that the doing exactly what Malay did in America might not be feasible just because we literally are the stability of the entire world. Literally. So anyhow, we're almost there. We could do this 2-hour show. Can we get this in 2 hours?
Can we get this last bit in 10 minutes? Because there's only one more item on this list. And this has pretty well summarized some of the executive orders are to deal with, how the staff maintains the White House, stuff like that, stuff that we frankly don't care about as far as the general operation of the government. But this right here, revoke security clearances for 51 signers of a letter suggesting that the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop could be Russian disinformation.
Yeah, and it's like we talked about yesterday when they said, well, it has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And you know what? Fine, fair enough. It did have all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation because the left was pushing narrative.
On this one in particular, I'm going to pull up the text of the actual executive order, which is because it's titled "Holding Former Government Officials Accountable for Election Interference and Improper Disclosure of Sensitive Governmental Information." By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. In the closing weeks of the 2020 presidential campaign, at least 51 former intelligence officials coordinated with the Biden campaign, right there, coordinated with the Biden campaign. That is an important piece of the language.
Yeah, Trump gets impeached for having a phone call where he says, hey, if you've got some information on Biden where he's dirty, I need it. He gets impeached over that. But the Biden campaign deliberately coordinates with our own intelligence services to suppress a story that could literally have cost Biden the campaign. Like, remember in the old days when you posted about the Hunter laptop on Twitter, you could get banned off Twitter?
Yeah.
Remember those days?
And this isn't just banning the story, blacklisting the story, and hiding it, suppressing the information. This is government officials in collusion with a presidential campaign, right? With the Biden campaign.
He wasn't even president yet.
Correct. This is violation. This is a conspiracy to suppress rights, and a conspiracy to use the intelligence agency of the United States of America in a targeted intel kinetic maneuver against the American people. This isn't insurrection. This is a coup. Right.
Well, I think
when you talk about the 2020 election and how it was stolen, I want you guys to understand what happened in 2020 was your government, the deep state, the unelected bureaucrats of your government, and the at the time out of power Democrat Party conducted a coup against the United States. Uh-oh.
I don't know what we're uh-ohing, but I don't show any problems on my end. Uh-oh. I don't know what you did, but you looked and sounded fine to me. And now
all of a sudden the client on my end broke and just kicked me out, but I refreshed the page and here I am.
Okay.
I can't see the live chats anymore, but
look, you know what I wonder? Okay, now that we can look at the entire situation in total, what kind of a deal did Biden make with, I'm going to refer to it as the shadowy cabal, in order to win him the presidency? Because he needed to win himself the presidency so he could issue pardons for everybody in his family. Because that laptop in any sane world would have been a smoking gun piece of evidence. It had all of this stuff on it that didn't just implicate Hunter, but it implicated several members of Joe Biden's family. And we ran an awful long con to give all those people immunity. And it actually makes me want to double down on what I said yesterday.
I see you now, Mario.
It actually makes me want to double down on what I said yesterday when I said, fine, we could future-proof presidential pardons, sure, but that also means your Fifth Amendment just walked out the door, and you must offer testimony, and you can get charged with a new crime if you don't cooperate with the subpoenas, because this is one of those things where I want to know what was really going on, because we jumped through all these hoops just so we could cover up a politician's like dirty business deals. Oh, he gets a few points on the back end as a form of payola. Yeah. And not to be too cynical, but like that doesn't even crack my radar of the top 10 things that are correct, that the government that are corrupt, that the government does. So why did we bend over backwards to protect Biden and his family? Why did we do that?
Right. What, why was the government covering for Epstein for so long? And the correct answer to that question is more questions. The correct answer is key bono, right? Who benefits? Well, Adam Schiff was one of the ones that got a preemptive pardon. Liz Cheney was one of the ones that got a preemptive pardon, right? And so when you ask what kind of deal did Biden make, there's a deal for you. Adam Schiff needs a preemptive pardon if he wants to stay his ass out of jail for the shit he's done, especially now that Trump's back in office, because Schiff, if you'll remember, he kept saying, I have the evidence. I know the Russia thing is legit. I have the evidence. And it turned out, oh no, he's lying. And that's not the only shady shit he's done. So you look at people like Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff, and you know what? Biden didn't need to make a deal with the 51 intelligence officers. He made a deal with, hey, I'll give you a pardon. Hey, Schiff. Hey, Cheney. Y'all play ball on X, Y, and Z. I'll get you a pardon. And then they go make this deal. Hey, intelligence officials, we have control of the levers of power. You want a swift boat into a board seat at a major defense contractor, or you want to be a CNN $5 million a year talking head, sign on the dotted line. So there's a massive conspiracy here that was part of the conduct of the coup in 2020 that needs a deep investigation and legitimate serious consequences. Absolute financial ruin. These people attempted to steal from every American citizen your liberty and prosperity. And so they should be bankrupted and incarcerated. They should be bereft of their liberty and prosperity.
Yeah. And look, no, I agree. And there's so many pieces to it, because I wouldn't, like, let's say, just hypothetically, let's say 5 years ago, when it first became known that Joe Biden was going to make a serious run at being president and actually had a shot, as long as you could keep that whole dementia thing hidden. So 5 years ago, a deal had to have been made. Some kind of deal had to have been struck. And 5 years ago, January 6th hadn't even happened yet.
Right.
So I'm not just talking about, okay, we're going to make some deals regarding January 6th in order to ensure certain things happen with Joe Biden and we maintain control of the levers of power. Before that was even a thought, like, all this had to happen against the backdrop of everybody knowing that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. And that's why I'm like, okay, we weren't just covering up like some shady oil deals. There had to be something else going on.
Well, and you say that the deals happened before January 6th. I submit to you this. We know about the feds that were at January 6th. We've seen the stuff with Ray Epps, right? We've seen Nancy Pelosi actively undermining the security posture of DC on the day, right? We've got federal agents, Fed posting dead to rights, basically creating the situation that happened there. I would go so far as to say that, just because January 6th hadn't happened yet doesn't mean that the fact that they had it planned in advance was that they were looking for bodies, right? What they wanted was for MAGA personalities to commit actual acts of violence.
Every time there's a mass shooting, they pray it's a right winger.
Right.
This was just this scaled up. You're exactly right.
Yeah, they were trying to create dead bodies, because if it bleeds, it leads. And they didn't get that. And so for the last 4 years, they've kept saying violent insurrection, violent insurrection, violent insurrection, because that was always the plan. And when they didn't get it, they said, you know what, fuck it. People believe you, lie to them anyway. Just lie to them. Just lie to them. Let's just do it. So Cheney was in it from the get-go. She was part of it from the beginning. I don't know what it is that she's got that she feels like she needs a decades-long blanket pardon for without mentioning it. But there is some shady shit going on there. There is some serious conspiracy going on there.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I have to be really careful as I think about it, because once I realize, because you have to accept as a fact that everybody knew 5 years ago, before Joe Biden was even officially in the presidential race, everybody knew that he had some degree of dementia going on, and that it would be a terrible idea for him to be president. Like, I made comments during the run-up to the election, as shitty as Kamala was, at least she'd technically be an upgrade because she was drunk, not demented. Like, you can quit drinking. You can't quit being demented.
You can't quit declining.
That's right. You can't quit declining. So I have to be really careful that I don't break my own brain thinking about this, because something nasty was going on.
Yeah.
Where the decision was made to prop up a guy with dementia, like, what was really being covered up? What was really being covered up? And look, the 51 intelligence officials, I didn't mean to take us this far down the rabbit hole, but the 51 intelligence officials, Mario actually said, yes, unarmed insurrection, worst insurrection ever. Absolutely. Yeah, I guarantee you, if MAGA wanted to have an insurrection, no. Whew. Yeah. Whew, shorter, man, that you want to talk about kinetic force. Like, whew, that would be. Anyhow, Mario said in our internal.
You know who's in MAGA? The retired spooks, right?
Well, not just the retired spooks, but the deer hunters and the LARPers and.
But here's the thing. You've heard me say ain't no zealot like a convert, right? I submit for your consideration an American hero, a great Marine, Thomas Sowell, who avowedly says that he was a socialist in college. And then when he's asked, well, what made you a conservative? What made you be a conservative?
A job.
Oh, well, I got a job with the government.
Yeah.
That was all it took.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you ever have a government job and an IQ higher than room temperature, you're going to stop being a socialist.
Yeah, 100% agree. But the guys losing their security clearance, Mario said in our internal chat, and yes, I'm gonna talk out of school and put you on blast, Mario.
Oh, shit.
Mario said in our internal chat, I love spiteful Trump. And yes.
Well, how many times have we said, God, please send me the Trump the left is afraid of?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes
these executive orders, in a lot of ways, that may be what happened.
Chris, you and I believe you and I were literally the last, and we're both like early 40s, coming up on the mid 40s, but I'm still going to say early 40s. And I really believe that, like, we were literally right on the line. We were the last kids that were taught, sometimes you should just turn around and punch the bully in the nose. That just was not, that just is not the world we live in anymore. But Trump being about 35 years older than us, he certainly grew up in a world where his elders told him, sometimes you just got to turn around and punch the bully in the nose. And that's what he's doing. Trump is hitting back. Like, do we really gain anything by stripping these people of their security clearances? No. But does it make the point? Yeah, it does.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit. We do gain something from it. Because one of the reasons, part of how we've gotten to where we got to, is that there have been no consequences. Hillary's emails, Clinton perjuring himself before the Congress. He got impeached, and he got impeached for perjury, but then they just left him in place. Hillary, she perjured herself in addition to everything else because, she told the FBI one thing and then she said the opposite thing under oath in front of the Congress. So, at a minimum, she lied to one of it. That's a guarantee. She absolutely either lied to the FBI or perjured herself in front of Congress. Barack Obama, extrajudicial murders. There have been no consequences for not just maladministration. We're not talking about doing a bad job as an elected official. We're talking about actual crime. Premeditated, malicious, intentional maladministration. And just completely separately, just straight up crime that these politicians have been allowed to get away with for a long time. And
I agree. Look, the fact that there's been no consequence.
This is a step in the right direction toward what I was talking about before, about all of the co-conspirators to the election interference of over the last year, all the illegitimate lawfare against Donald Trump. The correct answer, they need to be disbarred, disrobed, and completely bankrupted and incarcerated.
Bro, Chacho, you should have just put yourself on mute. Just said I'll be back in 10 minutes. We'd have kept the seat warm for you.
Well, I thought you guys were,
he was warming up a different seat.
I wanted to drop in just for a moment to, in the interest of broadcast discipline and the average attention span, maybe you guys should shut it down soon. I don't know. Unless you want to.
Well, we've gotten through everything, and we're literally at the very last step.
Gotten through everything. We're pretty much ready to button it up. I did want to get you to pop back on for just a minute, just to say hi, and the fact that we've just done. We're over 2 hours now, and the majority of the people that started watching at the top of the hour,
they're still here.
At the top of the show, are still watching.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I think the only show we've ever done that was longer, that wasn't a joint stream, was the Roe v. Wade victory lap, where we basically just got drunk on air and took a victory lap. That was a good one.
We drink that bottle.
Oh, you have the box, and I have the bottle. Yes. Yeah, that is correct.
That was the Glenlivet that we drank.
And, shit!
Did you just drop it?
Yep. Anyhow, but no, I very much agree with your point. The fact that there's been a lack of consequences is part of the reason why we have the problems that we have. You can only motivate people with two things, the carrot and the stick. And as soon as you take one of those things off the table, you essentially lose the ability to motivate a person. And yeah, Donald Trump, turns out he doesn't speak softly, but he does carry a big stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
It's especially funny that I just put this comment up and it covers Mario's mouth.
But I do think, in fact, that yeah. Who's got the hangover? Oh, but yeah, buddy, that was a solid 2.5 years ago, and I was a bit hungover the next day. But it was a fun day. Like, you don't even know the fact that we washed that down with the special edition Guinness that Chris brought over.
Oh yeah, the coffee.
The Guinness Cafe. Yeah, we chased we chased the Scotch with Guinness Cafe. It was delicious.
Oh God, those are good.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, there should totally be consequences. The fact that there have been none is why people continue to do things. It's limited to something that we've talked about before, where people would try and box Trump in and be like, "Are you going to take the military option off the table?" And he'd be like, "No." Well, why would I do that? Why would I give away one of my negotiating tools before I even start negotiating?
Even if I have personally decided, hypothetical, I'm Trump and I've made the decision myself personally, I will never, ever, ever use a nuclear weapon under any circumstances whatsoever. Okay, cool.
Doesn't mean I tell anybody.
That's what I've decided. Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
Right.
Yep.
If somebody pulls a gun on me and he's trying to rob me and I pull my weapon out and we're looking at each other, I'm not going to say, look, man, I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to use
Reservoir Dogs. Yeah, Reservoir Dogs. Right. Fuck you, White. I didn't create the situation. I'm just dealing with it.
Hey, you might as well just hand it to him.
Mario, what did you want to say, sir? You came back in, please.
Did you guys get into any of the federal workforce limitation?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Here we go.
Was that even mentioned?
I don't remember that being on the list.
It was before immigration on the list, but we kind of naturally jumped into immigration first. So,
you're right.
A freeze. So yeah, this is a big one, and this completely ties into the concept of Doge. All right. Now, bear in mind, Doge has already.
Doge, how very cosmopolitan of you, sir.
Yeah, Doge has.
I think you meant French.
Isn't that how the meme is pronounced? Doge?
No, it's Doge. It's Doge.
Oh,
yep.
Oh, it's lacking the accent mark. Okay, I apologize. So Doge, it's already been there's already 4 lawsuits against Doge. Okay, so that it shows you what the priority is for the administrative state, given that they have what they're going to attack first. Because like I said at the beginning of the program, these executive orders, while historic, are going to basically result in total judicial warfare. All right, in the coming months. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, Doge first taking the drawing fire first, right? So a freeze on federal hiring, okay, except for military, all right, or ICE, basically, or national security positions, okay? That's a good thing. Limit the growth of Leviathan simply by executive order. And that is something that Trump can actually do by executive order. Because in fact, all of the administrative bureaucratic state is in fact an extension of the executive branch. I mean, am I wrong? It all falls under the, you work at the pleasure and at the discretion of the president, right?
Serve at the pleasure of the president. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, and then restoring a category of federal workers known as Schedule F. Basically, these are H-1Bs, but for government employees.
Listen,
except they're bring in Americans, okay, to do government jobs, but minus all of the protections and the public sector union protections that the other federal employees enjoy. So that is a huge FU to the administrative state. Trump's basically bringing in scabs, all right, to take your job, that he that you wanted to stay at home and collect a paycheck for. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And by the way, end all public sector unions.
Of course, but
of all the things in
that's
this,
a fight for another day.
Of all the things in this, the restore the Schedule F category, I think that is the most important part of all of this, because basically it's like tenure for government employees, and once you have it, you're incredibly difficult to fire, which means you can, and people do this across the government. They don't do what the president wants them to do, or they work for the Secretary of State. They don't do what Sec State wants them to do, whatever. They do what they think is best. And if they want to throw a little sand in the gears of whatever the current initiative is, they can, and they can get away with it. And like, go back and think about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. They didn't just brazenly do the thing. They were convinced that A, what they were doing was the right thing to do, and B, that it was completely acceptable for them to do it, because that is the mentality of so many of these people. You get entrenched in the federal government and you become very difficult to let go of. So yeah, make these people easier to fire. It goes back to the carrot and stick thing. Once you take away the stick, you take away your ability to motivate people. I have multiple jobs, and I have to treat them a certain kind of way, or I can lose them. But federal employees are unencumbered by such things. So I think that whole Schedule F thing is the most important part of that whole batch of executive orders.
It's low key one of the hottest executive orders, especially for people. Yeah, for most Americans, it doesn't mean anything, but for the people in the 4 of the 5 wealthiest zip codes in the country, right around Washington D.C., yeah, that's doomsday.
This is making them shit their pants.
Doomsday.
Yes,
perfect. Okay, this next one, I'm going to read it in its entirety, and just like the Schedule F, this one.
Aaron Olson asks, is the audio going in and out for anyone? So let me just do 2 things real quick, guys, before we get, because I want to give Mario enough rope to hang some people. Aaron Olson asks, is the audio going in and out for anyone else? No, Aaron, your battery's dying. Plug your headphones in. And then I saw Be Controversial. You mentioned that you sent an email and that the link on the website for that isn't working. Thanks for letting me know. I'll go take a look at that after the show and see if I can fix whatever the problem there is. But I did get your email, so thanks for that. And yeah.
And one more technical note. Since we've been going for over 2 hours now, all right. If your connection signal strength isn't as strong, okay, like if you're not directly connected to a Wi-Fi, it might be time for you to refresh the stream, okay, just so that, because you're probably lagging, all right. Okay, so this one here, this is another hot one.
Hey, Aaron just said I've refreshed my end and it's fixed.
See, I'm tech support. It's my job. All right. Anyway, so this one.
Yes, Habib, keep going. Yes, we've turned it on and back off again.
Have you turned it off and turned it back on, please? All right. So review the investigative actions.
Thank you for calling Microsoft. My name is Joshua. No, it's not, Habib. No, it's not.
I got this. My name is John Smith from Connecticut. Sir, your name is Ragmeat from Mumbai. You need to stop. We know. All right. Anyway. So, as I was saying, this one is big. So this executive order states to review the investigative actions of the Biden administration to correct past misconduct by the federal government related to the weaponization of law enforcement and the weaponization of the intelligence community. All right. This is effectively an inquisition. All right. And that's what I want to see. Put him to the question, Torquemada. Does he urinate like this? So anyway, so what this does is it authorizes basically.
Try the pig. Try the suckling pork.
Yes. So this will authorize essentially create open-ended investigative powers, okay, to look into the injustices of the past 4 years, which is something that absolutely needs to happen, okay? Now, like I said, I don't like the weaponization of law, okay? I don't like using the judiciary as a means to personally attack someone over political reasons. I was disgusted by the last 4 years and what was done to Trump and to many of his, many of his most loyal, all right, appointees and advisors. Steve Bannon, anyone? Peter Navarro, anyone? Okay. This basically will flip the script back on them. And like I said, it's we're in that post-Republican, post-constitutional consolidation of power under Caesar, in the story arc of America, and that's just the way it's going to have to play out. You did it first. We didn't want this, but you did it. Okay. There's a really powerful stone toss meme, all right, and it shows a libertarian and it shows an Antifa guy, right? And the libertarian has defeated the Antifa guy in a fair fist fight, all right? And then what you see in the next panel is a baseball bat basically covered in nails. And written on it, it says, government abuse of power. And the libertarian says, no, I dare not use it, for I know what it could mean, right? And he walks away. And then the last panel, the Antifa guy picks it up and bludgeons him to death.
Yep.
That's what we're facing. That's really what we're facing. And I know, Cam, I know your sensibilities are against that. And I know especially Steve is probably against that. And I get it. I do understand the principles. And I do want to, I would like to have a government based on principle and not on personal vendetta or not on revenge.
Or maybe the Constitution.
I know. And
the Constitution was based in principles. America is the only country ever to be entirely founded by philosophy.
Right.
And
and I hope we can get back there, but there has to be some turnabout, all right, before we get there. The evils of the past 4 years cannot go unpunished.
Look,
and
Mario,
sorry if I'm repeating stuff you said in my absence.
No, it's fine. Look, I promise I get it, okay? The not fighting back and not fighting back with the appropriate level of force, not at least, as the kids say, hey, sometimes you just got to match that energy. And I get that. I really, really do. You're right. This is something that makes me really uncomfortable because what happens when the next president comes in and there's a bunch of retaliation, and then the next administration, and then there's retaliation to the retaliation to the retaliation. Yeah, it's it concerns me, but I don't. I guess the thing is I don't necessarily think you're wrong either. Like, if you don't hit back, well, I actually heard a pastor say once, Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Jesus didn't say stand there and let somebody kick you to death. And this might be one of those situations where it's not turning the other cheek, it's standing there and letting somebody beat you to death. And I do recognize that.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a lot to that turn the other cheek stuff. When I was still a fighter, I would almost always take the first punch. And it was almost always a shot to the face. And let me tell you something. When you're in the ring and somebody punches you in the face and you smile at them a little bit, that fight's over. It might go on for another 10 minutes, but they lost as soon as you smiled at them.
Yep. Psychological. All right. So Trump is also executive order. He's going to grant top secret security clearances to White House staff without going through traditional vetting procedures. Sounds scary, but what that means is that he's going to be able to declassify a lot more by giving more people directly within his, like, literally, I can see you. You're across the room from me.
Right.
I know you're not going to fuck around because I see you. Okay.
Well,
by giving those people more power, then I believe that this could be used to finally, RFK's biggest wish is, like, I want America to know what happened to my family. You know what I mean? And I do hope that happens this time.
Well, this is one of those things that, like you said, it sounds scary, but it's actually not that scary. But just like everything else in the government, the process to get some kind of top secret clearance has been weaponized and can be used against you and is frequently abused. And the president has broad latitude on what to classify and declassify anyway, specifically to what can be declassified. So the fact that he'd just say, hey, you, buddy, I'm essentially giving you blanket permission to have everything for you be declassified. Really, he's just making it official by saying, yeah, you know what? If you're going to work for me, I'm going to give you some kind of clearance so that it just makes it easier on everybody who works for me. And literally, we're all going to be in the same room anyway. It's not like I can't keep my eye on you, as you pointed out.
So it could actually be Trump just doesn't want to waste time with an underling coming up to him like, Trump, will you please sign my information?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yep. And this and the last one is ending the remote work policies and order federal workers back to office full time. Okay, so that kind of was one of the first things that Doge talked about, and it is a brilliant plan, because if we're trying to cut down on the federal workforce and restore sanity, all right, to Washington D.C., this is and beyond D.C. We're talking federal agencies nationwide, right? This is excellent because you can actually trim the fat, all right, of the federal workforce simply through the attrition of self-selection. Okay.
Yes.
There are a lot of people basically who have spent the last 4 years getting disgustingly fat and just becoming essentially goblin trolls while collecting a government paycheck because they never have to go into the office and actually directly physically interact with anyone within the agency, so they can just let their freak flag fly. You know what I mean?
Think of the memes about people playing World of Warcraft or EverQuest or whatever. The video game, the MMO player, and you got this great big old disgustingly rotund thing that's covered in Cheeto dust, and you got the energy drink
Mountain Dew cans
all over the place, right? And just piles and piles. You're looking at
ashtrays on top of pizza boxes.
Yeah. You're looking at like Asmongold's bedroom type of shitstorm, and you got somebody sitting there in a fluffy pink bathrobe that's got literal shit stains on it from the animals crawling over them. That's half your government workforce right now.
I don't want to kick the trannies while they're down, okay? And just understand, guy, I feel bad for your son, okay? But how many transgender government employees would rather quit than be forced to show their horrifically Lovecraftian not passing selves in public? Many.
Look, here's the thing.
That's GS12 material right there, Chris. That's.
Seriously, sincerely believe that remote work by and large is a good thing. And if I agree. Mm-hmm. If I could get my job done in 3 or 4 hours, and it's done well, and it's done correctly, like there is a piece to this where you have to hold up your end of the social contract. But if I can get my job done in 4 hours and then have the rest of my day, who cares? You hired me to do a job. You didn't hire me to drive to an office every day and sit in a cubicle and find a way to fill in 8 hours plus 30 minutes for lunch. So, however, at the same time, as much as I think remote work is a good thing and should be expanded, I think that unilaterally should apply to the private sector. For the government, especially when you have people that, as we talked about before, get entrenched, they become difficult to fire, and then they have no problem being sand in the gears of the operations of the government. Nah, you got to make those people show up at the office. You got to. If you can't.
Well, so I'm all for this as an executive order right now for the self-selection process, like Mario said. I would actually like to see, after everybody comes back into the office, there's a conversation with the ones that aren't self-selected out to see where we can more efficiently utilize the work from home model. And one part of that is related back to Doge is something that Doge needs to get after. Is we need to the United States government needs to divest from thousands, millions of acres of property that is sitting neglected. We have buildings
doing nothing.
They're just sitting there vacant, but we're still paying like the old lunatic and insane asylum down the street from me in Milledgeville. It's a gigantic medical campus, right? It's closed down in the 80s. The power's still on. The water's still on. The bills are still being
used for something.
Yeah, it could be used for something, and not just great airsoft games, which it has been used for. But that is a financial burden on the taxpayer. So, as much as I want to see, I don't. Just like Cameron was saying, I'm totally comfortable with people having working from home because the cost of commuting, the cost of going to work is a terrible drain on an individual. And oh, by the way, that means you could be paid less to work at home and not feel the pinch of it. And I'm comfortable with that too. Reduce, hey, come on back in. Okay.
Yep.
Now we've self-selected out 25% of the government workforce. Those of you who remain, would you like to return to working from home? Yeah, hell yeah, I would. Okay. 30% pay cut.
Right. Yeah. Consider it a loss of per diem for your gas bill. Yep. So yeah, I also, a lot of people in the chat have been commenting about how they do remote work. Okay. And so do I. All right. And as long as you have good employees, it's actually a great thing. It's good for the employee, like you said, because it reduces their burden. Okay. It reduces their costs to work. And it's good for the employer as well, because it gives them more flexibility on what shifts they can have their employees work. Okay.
Yep.
You can't tell your employee he needs to come to the office from, like, say, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay. But if you tell a remote worker, give him some advance, at least so he can get his sleep cycle squared away. This is easy for us MI guys. This is like normal life for us.
Yeah.
It gives you that opportunity. Okay. And yeah, and for someone who works for me, someone who does sales, tech support, and customer service, it makes sense. I don't have to be in the office. I do drop in occasionally just to check the product line, okay, and make sure I have visibility over the product that I'm selling, because that is important. But yeah, it does. It smooths out the business model really nicely, I think, in some industries, not all.
Anarchy. I also, my primary source of income is manual labor. I actually deliver fat boy cakes to grocery stores in my area, and they're delicious fat boy cakes. Let me be clear. And I can't. I can't.
Diabetes against the inner city. He's doing God's work.
Anarchy. I did manual labor for Anarchy. I did manual labor as well for the first 40 years of my life. The second 40, it's sometimes you gotta things start to wear out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my feet hurt.
I'm telling you, Anarchy, protect your feet, protect your knees, and protect your back. Okay. You don't understand how important that is for a young man.
But what I was driving at is, obviously not everybody can work from home. I can't put honey buns on the shelf at Quick Trip if I don't actually go to Quick Trip. So I'm clear on that. But one of the benefits to people being able to work from home is they get the fuck out of my way when I'm working, because they're at home. So there's benefit. There's benefit.
Yeah. And unverified mentions basically, just you don't really trust government employees. All right. By design, you shouldn't, and more direct supervision is necessary for them.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's we used to have like government studies done that tried to back when we actually had an economy, when we had a country, working in the public sector was actually less profitable than working in the private sector. This was the reality for the 60s, 70s, 80s, and at least most of the 90s. Okay, it was more profitable not to work for the government. Well, unfortunately, with the consolidation of I don't know, with everything that's happened within the economy and globalism and et cetera, it is now more stable and more prosperous to just be a government employee. Unfortunately, it's been like this in Europe for a long time. Okay, but for America, this is kind of a newer phenomenon in America.
Yes and no. The real problem with what you're talking about is that the public-private partnerships have created an economy where the path to the most profitable public sector job, the path to the most profitable private sector jobs go through the government sector. That's everything from trying to get into big media to getting into government contractor work. Basically, anywhere that you're going to go to work for a Fortune 500 company, for a major corporation, you can essentially skip the qualification and curricula vitae process by if you can get a GS12, a GS15 on your resume, you can just kind of skip the line.
So part of the problem here is, for a long time,
it's like military service on your resume. It never hurts. It never hurts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can say, as a hiring manager, I turned plenty of college kids away and hired the guy with a 6-year contract on the Army the second the college kid walked out the door. You are not wrong. But part of the problem is, for a long time, there were many married couples that operated like this. One spouse made the money, and if that spouse had to work overtime, work weekends, work third shift, whatever, that spouse, their job was to bring home the biggest paycheck possible. The other spouse would actually get some kind of a government job. It paid less money, but it would bring in some extra income. But then you'd get all these benefits. You'd get access to decent health care. You'd get lots of vacation days. You'd get all this flexible scheduling. So, if dad is knocking down 60 hours a week at the construction site, and then mom is working 35 hours a week working for the Board of Commissioners office, that actually worked out, because if something happened with the kids, if they were out of school, whatever, mom could just go take care of it. Dad could keep making the money. Mom didn't make as much money, but it all balanced out. Now with government, you get all of those benefits. You get the flexibility. You get the benefits. But now you make more money, and it's thrown the entire system out of whack. There is supposed to be pluses and minuses to everything. There is an important concept in photography where you can never actually take the perfect shot, because as soon as you adjust one of the settings on your camera to be more ideal for what you're trying to do, you have to sacrifice one of the other settings on your camera for what you're shooting. So it used to be that it was a similar situation. You could work for the private sector and you could make more money, but certain other things would be more challenging. Or you could work for the government, make less money, but enjoy certain benefits. Well, now you get both working for the government. And like I said, it has thrown the entire system out of whack.
Well, and it used to happen the other way too. You were talking about one of the parents, mommy or daddy, having the good private sector job, and then the other one getting the good public sector job so that they have the extra benefits. There are a lot of businesses whose headquarters are based on proximity to a military base, like Aflac. Aflac put their Aflac Tower, the national headquarters, in Columbus, Georgia, right around the corner from Fort Benning, precisely because what they needed most when they were starting their business out was cheap secretaries. And so they got a bunch of Army wives that didn't need healthcare benefits. They needed a part-time job, and they knew that, they couldn't compete for higher pay with other companies because they're only going to be here for maybe 3 years until their husband gets orders and has to move somewhere else. So these women know that they're basically looking for relatively low pay, but they want something. And there's a lot of businesses that are headquartered next to a military base for exactly that reason.
Right.
Because they get to use
keep you busy and make just a little bit of money.
Yep.
And with infinity immigration, every single sector of the workforce is now threatened. Okay.
Yeah.
The temp job that the woman was working just for some additional pay, that is under direct threat from H-1B. The high-paying job that the father's working, that is now direct threat from H-1B. Okay. You are being immigration. The infinity immigration, okay, skilled or unskilled, takes jobs from Americans, and basically it's not just like it was in the 90s where it's the people at the bottom, okay, the people doing the manual labor, right, who they're taking our jobs, those kind of guys.
They took our jobs.
Yeah, that the middle class and the upper class kind of like poo-pooed at, because it's like, look at them. Now it's everyone. Now it's everyone under attack. So anyway, immigration's a totally different topic. I apologize. I shouldn't have gone there.
All right. Have we gotten through Earthing? Are we finally?
I think we've beaten this particular horse.
We're coming up on 3 hours, and I can only tie so many knots in it.
That's not going to happen again for a while. That's and doing the snow day and the three of us being able to hang out and do this long show and seeing that, a lot of our audience, we've had a few people come in and out, but a lot of our regular audience have sat here and listened to us run our mouths and babble at each other for nearly 3 hours. And we love the hell out of you guys. We appreciate that enormously. We'd really appreciate it if you click that link down below and buy us a coffee, because I just ran out.
Yep, the planet's aligned today, okay, for all three of us to be here. And if you really need to kill 19 minutes, you could just be like, hey, Chris, tell me about that time in Afghanistan. No, I'm just kidding.
I will add, earlier in the show, I dropped a link in the chat there, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop it again, just because this is rock solid. If you guys have never watched anything from Dr. Randomer Cam, this video where any of these videos where he breaks out the puppet and does the other side of the interview. He's got one with Pierce Morgan. He's got one where he replaces Jordan Peterson in the one where the chick kept saying, so what you're saying is, so you're saying. But this one where he did the interview with The Who, fantastic. Go watch that if you get a chance. But I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to call it right there. Gentlemen, you got any closing thoughts?
No, coffee. It's starting to get painful.
Well, closing thought is, I think, it's a pretty strong start. Like I said, I'm gonna make a full assessment really of what I think about this new administration after the 100-day mark. But I got to be honest, that black pill in me, the black pill, it's cracking just a little bit, guys. Okay, so there's hope. All right.
and hey, I would love to do another one like this where we go for 2-3 hours for the 100-day report card.
I say that's fair. Yeah.
Maybe we should start working on that now. Okay, guys,
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Be safe and stay warm, guys. Thanks for watching today. It's been a privilege. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Oh, hey, Cameron, be careful. Let's